what His Word wants to bring on Mother's Day, because it's an honor to be able to minister on a day in a sense like this. From the outside, it's you're celebrating and honoring moms, the life, and in a sense, Pastor mentioned it this morning, the examples that they set within the foundations and building up the home. And, some are coming from possibly broken homes, some are coming from two-parent homes. But the thing is, you were brought forth by a mom. And having a mom, in a sense, in your life brings a whole different aspect to the upbringing that can take place. Because a dad can't do what a mom can do. And I'll say that in a sense from my own home. My kids are a little leery, I guess you would say, when they want to come ask me something. Because they're like, Dad's always going to say no. And I'm like, not all the time. There's some truth to this statement, but it's not all the time. But they'll run right to mom, and they'll know mom has a little soft spot for it. And then what I like what my wife does, though, she'll pull that card and say, what did your dad say? And I'm like, yes. Dad's got this one today. But, it's about moms today. And, I know we've been in this particular story, or in a sense, this book, a handful of times. But something really stuck out to me. But we're going to go to Proverbs 17:17. And it says, a friend loveth at all times, but a brother is born for adversity. I'm going to read that in a different version. I'm reading it in the Passion, because the Passion reads it a little bit differently. And it says, if I can get, it says, a dear friend will love you no matter what, and the family sticks together through all kinds of trouble. I want to go to the book of Ruth. And we understand, in the sense, in the book of Ruth, the overall concept, I say, of the book of Ruth is realizing that you have a Redeemer in Jesus Christ. But we're going to start off at Ruth chapter 1, picking up at verse 14. And it says, they lifted up their voice and wept again. And Ophrah kissed her mother-in-law, but Ruth claved unto her. And she said, behold, thy sister-in-law is gone back into her people and into her gods. Return after thy sister-in-law. I'm going to stop for a second, because beforehand, when you're starting to read the book of Ruth, Ruth has lost her husband, and she has lost, in a sense, her son-in-laws, both. So now she's I guess you would say, a single mother trying to take care of two kids. And she's telling them, there's nothing I can do for you, in a sense, because of my old age. Are you really going to wait for me to have another husband and then wait, let's say, 20 years for those kids, if I were to have any, to be grown? And then by that time, you got a nice little gap that's taking place. But she was telling them, go back to your land, in a sense. Go back to your family where you're comfortable with. I'll be, in a sense, fine, but don't stay here with me. I want you to go back where you're going. So Ophrah took it and was like, well, I guess I'll take it, and then I'm going to go back to, if you notice, it says back to her gods and back to her land. But there's an interesting thing about Ruth. It says that in 16, it says, and Ruth said, entreat me not to leave, or to return following after thee. For whither thou goest, I go, and whither thou lodge, I will lodge. Thy people shall be my people, and thy God shall be my God. Where thou diest, I will die, and there I will be buried. And the Lord do so to me, and more also, if aught but death part thee and me. And so if you look up what the name of Ruth means, the name of Ruth means friendship. When you're looking up the name of Naomi, Because literally right after this verse, Naomi and Ruth, it says that, and I'll paraphrase this, it says that Naomi realized that there was no changing the mindset of Ruth, so she just left it alone. You keep reading, they end up going into the land, and everybody's excited to see Naomi and Ruth, and they're like, hey, Naomi, how you doing? And Naomi's like, don't call me Naomi anymore. Call me Mara. And the word Mara means bitterness. But when you understand the name of Naomi means my delight, or having, in a sense, pleasantness. So, and reason why she wanted her name to be said Mar instead of Naomi is because she realized that the Lord had dealt with her, but she gave, in a sense, of reverence to the dealing that God had done because she realized it was all a part of God's plan. That's why her bitterness took place. But when you're looking in the book of Ruth, Mar only is mentioned one time. Bitterness only arises one time in this book. Naomi's name is mentioned about 20. So there's more pleasantness and delightness than being bitter sometimes. Naomi said that she came in full. I guess I can ask how many, in a sense, all of us, I know this is Mother's Day, and mothers will probably have more of an aspect. How many of times you felt like you came in full and you were good? Everything was straight, but you realized something had to happen because it was a part of God's plan. And you didn't want bitterness, or you put the term in there, to settle in or to happen, but it just happened. And instead of leaving full again, you left out just empty. You left sad, you left sorrowful, whatever the case may be. You just felt hurt. But you never forgot that God had done what he needed to do for a specific reason in your life. And so as you continue to read, and I didn't put this in there, but it's in Ruth chapter 2, around verse 20. Naomi is telling Ruth, hey, go glean. Matter of fact, it's the beginning of the barley harvest. And she's telling him to go glean. And then next thing you know, as we know, Boaz comes on the scene, and she's saying, hey, I met a guy, and he allowed me to pick in his field, and his name is Boaz. And in a matter of less than, I'd say, 12 to 15 verses, Naomi's concept changes again. She's not bitter anymore, but she realized what's in front of her, and she sees that, hey, this individual is actually our family member. He's our redeemer. Now when you get into chapter 3, Naomi is giving advice to Ruth. And she's saying, hey, this is what you go do. You go back, you work with the maidens. Hey, when he's about to lay at his feet, you do all these things. And Ruth followed it to a T. And then Boaz, as you continue to read, he said, wait here, we'll figure it out because there's somebody closer. We'll take care of this, I say in the morning, and I'm paraphrasing the story. Because I want to get to a spot. Because you get to see a mother in action, a daughter in action, and in a sense, that daughter becoming a soon-to-be mom in action. And the reason why you see these things is because Naomi didn't realize the investment that was taking place in Ruth. She was investing in her in chapter 2, investing in her since in chapter 3, but Ruth flipped the story on her in chapter 1. And Naomi didn't see it because she was so bitter because everything was taken away from her. I think you say Naomi would be your female version of Job, but without everything else. Family was taken away. Sometimes in your life, there's going to be things that God takes away from you, but he has never taken his hand off of you. He replaces it on the back end. You might not see what's going on now, and the reason why I brought in Proverbs is because there's that friend that Ruth was going to be, but that family member that she became, because she became to stick a whole lot closer to Naomi. She said, wherever you go, I'm going to go. Wherever you sleep, I'm sleeping. Where you eat, I'm eating it too. If you die, I'm going to die. But that's the only thing that's going to separate us is death. And so when you continue to read this, you get to chapter 4. And I don't plan to be long. But you get to chapter 4. And chapter 4 says, "And the woman said unto Naomi, Blessed be the Lord, which hath not left this day without a kinsman, that his name may be famous in Israel. And he shall be unto thee a restorer of thy life, and a nourisher of thine old age. For thy daughter-in-law, which loveth thee, which is better to thee than any 7 sons that you would have had." So these ladies that are around Naomi are telling her, because of the love and the friendship that Ruth displayed to you, is a whole lot better than any other son, 7 by the way, that would have been displayed by all of them just in one person. Because Ruth, she embodied the other half of what Boaz was trying to do. Boaz redeemed, but Ruth stayed and loved. Ruth stayed and was a friend to Naomi through loss and heartache and pain. And that's, in a sense, if you can transition that to a mother's never going to leave their child's side. A mother is always going to be closer than any friend that you would ever have. You know, like I said, I talk with my wife, and, God has definitely blessed us with our 2, we can tell you the story, we can tell you the testament, but to live that growing pain, I guess you would say, through God, and to see where they're at now, and to see the growth in the sense of what my wife has done and how God has used her, you actually get to see the characteristics of mom come out sometimes. And there's the good side, and then there's also the side where Mama Bear comes to out of hibernation, I guess you would say. And every mom or every woman, whether you have a child or not, there's always that aspect of, I got 2 sides of the coin. I got a coin where I'm a love, I show compassion, I have a desire for you, you're mine. And then there's also the side in the sense of protection, where Mama Bear wants to come out and they're not even yours, but you have that draw to them. And that's what Naomi was for Ruth, or Ruth was for Naomi, sorry. She was that Mama Bear, even though she was the daughter, she was the youngest. And because Ruth's obedience, in a sense, and diligently sticking with Naomi, Naomi got to reap the reward of Ruth. Because, as we keep reading, it says, "And Naomi took the child and laid it on her bosom and began to nurse it. And the women neighbors gave it a name, saying, There is a son born unto Naomi, and his name is called Obed. He is the father of Jesse, the father of David." If we understand in the sense the lineage, Obed is David's grandfather, but through the lineage of Ruth and Boaz, you get Jesus Christ. That's right. And so, to tie this all together, Lord willing, can we go to Romans? So Paul makes a statement in Romans chapter 8. And this is where the embodiment, I guess you would say, of the mom really, or in a sense the woman fully takes place. Because you have things in life that are going to come that are going to be good, they're going to be bad, and in a sense, sometimes they're going to be ugly. But a mom is going to embody the things that's going to continue to strive and keep you going. The mom is, or in a sense, the woman of the home is going to make sure this is done, that is done, the child is doing this, and you check off the list. But Paul makes a statement, and I'm reading in the Passion Translation. Who can ever separate us from the endless love of God's anointed one? Absolutely no one. For nothing in this universe has the power to diminish his love towards us. Troubles, pressures, and problems are unable to come between us and heaven's love. What about persecutions, privations, dangers, and death threats? No, for they are all impotent to hinder an omniscient love. Even though it is written, all day long we face death threats for our sake. God, we are considered to be nothing more than sheep to the slaughter. Let's stop there. Paul is making this statement to the church, and he's trying to tell them, hey, what is truly going to separate you from the love of God? What death threat, what problem in your life can separate you from the love of God? Nothing. And Paul wanted to make it clear that no matter how through hell or high water, you're not going to be separated from the love of God. And Ruth displayed that to Naomi and saying, there's nothing that's going to separate you. But Naomi said, or Ruth said, unto death. But Paul is saying to the church, and in a sense, what the mothers are able to show to the body of Christ, the love that a mother has is not going to be able to separate you from anything. There's something different about a dad's love and a mom's love. Dad gives tough love, and sometimes kids don't like tough love. But moms, on the other hand, they give a love that's like, I say, Jesus Christ. It's unconditional. It's inseparable. You know, I tell my wife all the time, you got 9 months on me, whether you know it or not. Because you were carrying the child, you nurtured the child, you were there, the child was growing in your womb. And that's the same concept in the sense of a mom or a lady when they have, I say the advantage, but it's a blessing to have the advantage. Because when they come into the world or when they come into an environment, you're able to operate in any aspect that God allows you to flow through. Protection, love, compassion. But there's nothing that's going to separate you from that individual or that child. And that's what Paul was trying to tell us when we get to the next verse, is that yet in the midst of all these things, we triumphed over them all. For God has made us to be more than conquerors, and to his love is our glorious victory over everything. So now I live in confidence that there is nothing in this universe with the power to separate us from God's love. I am convinced that his love will triumph over death, life's troubles, fallen angels, or dark rulers in heaven. There is nothing in your present future or our present or in our future circumstances that can weaken his love. There is no power above us or beneath us, no power that could be found in the universe that can distance us from his passionate love, which is lavished upon us through our Lord Jesus, the Anointed One. So I wanted to encourage ladies and since women, mothers this morning. You have something a whole lot deeper invested inside of you that when it starts to flow, when it starts to come out, your love is just like the love that we receive from God. It's inseparable. You can tell when somebody loves you, or you can tell when somebody loves you. There's a difference in the tone. There's a difference in the act. There's a difference in how you show things. And as a mother, as a mom, as a wife, as you put your name in the hat, you're going to go through things, just like Naomi did. Some have experienced the loss of loved ones. Some have experienced the loss of family members, you name it. But the hand of God has never left you. The hand of God has always been there. It's up to us, and I say this as a whole, to realize that it's all a part of his plan and purpose. for our growing. He's already grown, but it's for our growing. And as you allow those things to mold and shape you, don't be fearful. Have faith. Continue to trust in him because Paul said it. And he gives you a list of everything that can't separate you. And if Paul could keep writing, I'm pretty sure his list can get even longer. But the point of it is, there's nothing that can separate you from the love of God at all. So as you continue to display God's love, just like Ruth did to Naomi, God's going to do the same to you and for you. And allow it to flow through you because that's what you look for in a mom. You don't realize love until it's gone. When love is gone, that distance you, that separates you. The love of God is not meant to separate. The love of God is meant to bring closer. It's meant to bring a closeness to you. There's things that you might be going through where you feel like the distance of the love of God. And then you're here, and you get here, and you're like, God, where did you go? And that's what Naomi felt. She was full of the love of God. She felt it. She was there. But she said that now I'm empty. There's no emptiness in a sense when you come to God. You're full and you're overflowing. So when you come into his presence and into his gates, or when you just get into a spot where God's love is just flowing through you, that's the fullest that you're ever going to be. And that's what you want to radiate through you is the fullness of God. The love of God, that compassion of God that starts to flow through a mom, through a husband, or whomever. That's what keeps you connected to God, is the love that flows in and through you. Only thing that can separate you from his love, you. Put your name in the hat. You are the only individual that can separate yourself from his love and from his compassion. But as you continue to seek, continue to knock, continue to do the things in the sense out of the abundance of your heart, that love gets a little closer and he draws a little bit nearer to you. And then now you're walking in step. And there's nothing. You're like salt and pepper. You can't separate the two. That's the love that God wants to display and continue to display in you as a mother, you as, in a sense, a young lady, a woman. Put your name in the hat, and if you've been praying for somebody, it's the same thing he wants to display into them. So leave encouraged. I mean that, truly leave encouraged, because there's nothing more greater than a mother's love when it's with God's help. That's the biggest thing. A mother's love with the help of God. Would you stand? If there's, I guess you say if it's appropriate, or if our ladies, if you are willing, to come to the front and just to pray over you. Because we know that times can get hard, life can continue to go, and you can be in your motherly duties or just in a sense in your routine, and you don't have the time to find a spot to pray and to feel the presence of God, because life can keep going and going and going. But these altars are open. If you want somebody to pray with you, we'll be more than happy to pray and agree with you, because you need strength in this last hour and these days that are to come, because it's only in a sense going to get worse. But with His help and with His love flowing in and through you, you're going to be able to endure